Hello, everyone. My name is Dana, and I am your grief coach. So, as I stated before, somewhere between September, October to about February, March, there usually is this large departure that happens. A lot of spirits and souls begin to ascend and transcend this human body space. And it was always my intention to come every week to provide tools, advice, and guidance on how to get through this particular season. And I am no way exempt from this process, just like everyone else. So for me, around about August to about now December, that's when my brother got sick around August, and then his transition date is in December. So I realize now, you find different things about yourself as you go through the grief process. And one of the things that I realized this particular year and season is that I go inward, right? And it's not intentional, but I don't talk as much and socialize as much. I really go into this introspective space. And yeah, is what I've noticed this go around. And grief is a journey. It is not something that we arrive. You never fully arrive at a place or destination. You just learn how to cope and deal and function with the grief. And one of the things that I have with me is my brother's tie. He had several ties. This is just one of the many things I have of his that I have readily access to. I can grab this and I look at it very often because it stays on my ancestor altar, my ancestral altar. And that helps me, that supports me. And so having something that was his, that I can still feel his energy and his presence, and just remember the professional and the dressy side of him, that helps me during this time period. Like I said, I kind of go inward, where I start reflecting and thinking back, which often happens with grief and loss. Individuals go back. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? People, for it doesn't matter most part or more or less, but a lot of times people go back to the moment of sickness, right? Or go back to the last 6 or even up until a year. And so we sometimes forget the whole life that some individuals were able to live. So, if an individual was able to live, 10 years and they were sick for that last 10th year, we focus on that year and not the 9 years but prior to that, right? Or if someone, transitioned, in their 50s, we tend to only reflect back to that day, that moment. And we often forget that they lived a whole nother life and had experiences. And so I'm guilty of that as well, where around this season, I often think back to those last couple of months, and we playing, the holidays, we're playing the summertime experience and things like that. But I can say too, throughout the entire year or the entire months, I don't necessarily always go back to that place and time. But it does happen. And I have a very close friend of mine who actually is on their calendar, and they reach out to me every year. And this year they reached out to me and they were like, I was driving and they called me and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to email you back and text you back. They were like, no, I'm not calling for that. And then I was like, oh yeah, like, today's the 15th, because I totally forgot the dates. I forgot the dates. I was caught up in other things and I thought it was the next day, but it was really that day. And they were like, oh, I didn't mean to trigger you, right? And I was like, no, by no means are your calls or your text messages ever a sense of, reminder. Like I always remember that, my brother is not physically here. But I appreciate it, because this is the other thing that's often true with grief and loss, is that the griever's world was shifted or stopped, and everyone else is still living their life. And so as we go back and be reflective or introspective in the moments, we're doing that, and everyone is paying their bills and going shopping and able to function. But we mentally and sometimes spiritually go into a different place, and that's okay as well. But it's just to kind of be mindful of some of these things that happen, and grief and loss. So even though I am a coach and I assist other people through the mourning, through the grief, I still am affected, because it definitely is a journey. And so I just wanted to share that and be vulnerable and be authentic, for me to come here and just, spiel out all different types of techniques and tools and not be authentic and really speak where I am. And this is where I am. So, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable and to share where I am in my grief and loss, and for you to know that you're not alone. Like, we all go through it in grief and in loss. So I want to wish everyone a beautiful day whenever you're watching this, and please remain safe until we meet again.